Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Movie Mortis Podcast, where movie madness lives. My name is Nick. That was the first time I've ever messed up the opening.
And I'm Drew.
And I'm Tim, of course.
And today we'll be talking about the 2011 film Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. In this film, he plays a stunt driver by day and a getaway driver by night, but everything goes tits up when a bank heist goes wrong.
Was that a bank heist? You don't really see the.
Well, it was a pawn shop robbery.
Okay, yeah.
Our general thoughts: I absolutely love this film. This is probably in my top 3 favorite films ever made. I really love it. It's got an incredible atmosphere. Acting is great all around the board, and Drive is cinema.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
I know. That's not quite as eloquent as what you said, Nick. But I mean, I think it's a pretty good, sort of crime thriller.
Yeah.
I kind of texted you guys earlier that when I was watching the movie that it kind of gave me GTA 5 vibes to a degree, with like all the car chases and the fact that it's in LA and all that. So I thought the car chase sequences were really well done. Even that one small action sequence in the hotel, I believe. It's with
the elevator scene.
Ryan Gosling. Not the elevator scene. It's the one.
Oh, where the girl gets her head blown off, right?
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. I like that sequence a lot.
Yeah. Tim, what did you think of the movie? Sorry.
Also, I do think I would like to point out, outside of Ryan Gosling, the cast is great as well. I think Casey Mulligan, I think, is great as Irene. Like, you can tell that her and Ryan Gosling certainly have chemistry. Bryan Cranston, who I didn't know was in this movie until today. He's the guy who plays the
mechanic, Shannon.
The mechanic, right? Yeah, Shannon. I'm looking at the IMDb page right now. He's really good as this guy. I don't know where the I like him a lot. Albert Brooks is good as that big top guy. Oscar Isaac, who I also didn't know was in this movie until today, is great. I like him in pretty much everything he's in. Although he'll always be Poe Dameron to me, but that's different. Christina Hendricks is good.
What about Ron Perlman?
I know. Ron Perlman is great. I was gonna say Blanche is her character's name, Christina Hendricks' character.
Yeah,
that's their girl. When I was watching the movie today, I was looking at myself. I was thinking to myself, that girl looks familiar. Like, why? I feel like I've seen her before. Oh, it's Christina Hendricks. Okay, that's a name I recognize.
Before we go into more details, Tim, what did you think of the movie? Give us the general thoughts on the movie. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Give it to us.
I mean, it was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Why was it just okay?
I mean, at least it looked cool for what it was worth.
Like, well, do you have a problem with the story, the characters, pacing?
I mean, it was definitely better than Nightcrawler, that's for sure. So,
what do you mean? Elaborate on that.
You know what? Before you get onto it, I was kind of thinking the same thing after I watched the movie for some reason.
I mean, Nightcrawler and this movie have a very similar feel to it. They're both very neo-noir films. They have a lot of great night shots. They involve people driving in cars in the city. There's a lot of murder.
Oh god, the night shots in this movie I think are fantastic. The night cinematography in this movie is fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, this film is incredible on a visual level. Like, I can actually picture, you know what they say, like, a great scene is you can just take a photo of it and it'll look like a professionally done picture. That's Drive.
Yeah.
Like, you got, again, the night scene. Like, I love the opening scene, the freaking bank, the freaking, like, the first getaway chase.
Oh yeah, that's a great scene.
Like, not only
that's a great hook to sort of drag what's the word, to hook the audience into your movie. I like how it starts with a chase scene like that.
Hell yeah.
And I really like how it's structured in a way towards like you kind of think it's not. Remember how I said a few minutes ago that it was kind of reminding me of GTA 5
Oh
when it
yeah.
was that scene where I kind of thought that. But also the reason I thought that is often in GTA when you're trying to get away from the police, you would go into an alleyway or something to try and lose them, and
Mm.
it's like that's basically what he does in this scene
Oh yeah.
and
Not
it's
only does he
like
go sorry, you first.
it establishes how good of a getaway driver he is,
Oh,
which I think
absolutely.
is very important context for the story.
What's really cool is that whole thing is taking place within the car. You never see the camera go outside the car. It's all in the car. Like the cameraman was actually
Yeah,
in the car.
yeah, very
I think
impressive.
that adds that tension, and he doesn't just get away from the police in the alleyway. He actually goes into a basketball game. In fact, if you watch the beginning of the film, he has a basketball game on TV and even has it on the radio. And once the game ends, he gets into the stadium and just tears his jacket inside out, puts on a hat, and just kind of nonchalantly walks past the police.
Well, also, what I think that cinematography, the way they shot that does, is that it keeps you in his perspective, and you never
Mm-hmm.
leave his perspective. And I think that's kind of most of this movie. It's like you never leave his perspective, and I think that's
Yeah, I
one
think
of
with
the
the
one of the things in thrillers. An easy way to turn like an action movie into a thriller in a lot of cases is to
mm-hmm.
simply never leave the main character's perspective, because then it's like you only know what they know,
I mean,
and so
there's also the
and so
gangsters
it's
too. You get some
yeah
talk
yeah
between Shannon, the gangsters, Bernie, and Nino.
yeah. Also, those are only like what a handful of scenes in the movie. Plus, the first time you see them, isn't Ryan Gosling's character one of the people who walk into the pizzeria when, or did I missee that?
I think that was Shannon.
Yeah, it
That
was
was Shannon.
Shannon and I think Ryan Gosling's character, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he looks like he's still there. He's still present.
Oh,
You know.
absolutely. Tim, what did you think of the opening scene?
Yeah, I mean it just looked believable, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah. Yep.
And it had a very like late 2000s sort of like grimy feel to it in some scenes. Like
Oh
in the
yeah.
scene at the in the opening sequence when he goes into the shop to get that Chevy Impala, it's very much like okay, this is you can see it's inspired by stuff from the late 2000s,
Oh
which I think
yeah.
is nice.
Speaking of inspirations, so here's the thing. I hate to admit this, but Drive is sadly not the most original movie
It's not.
because not only is it based on a book, but it's actually influenced by a French film called La Samurai or The Samurai. And it also follows similar story basis to Samurai, along with another 1973 film also called The Driver. But granted, it's more based on a book. It's based on a book actually. Where from I haven't read the book, but what I've heard, the character development is more present in the film than it is in the book. But just because a
Yeah,
film
yeah,
does
I
an
like.
original
Yeah,
doesn't mean it can be great, and that's where I think
yeah,
Drive really exceeds in
yeah,
of
and
this entire
I like.
execution.
Yeah, I like that you brought up the character development because like I like the character development in this movie.
Hmm. What with yeah, like the driver, like what's interesting about him is that he doesn't really have a big ambition. He just wants to do his job and get by. He's not very ambitious, but it's only when he meets Irene is that
Yeah,
when he realizes, holy smokes, maybe there's more to this. And he does feel kind of sad when he learns that the husband's out of jail, and like
yeah,
there's a scene in
but
the
but
movie where they're
but yeah,
celebrating, and I'm gonna get to the music later, by the way, because I
okay,
do think it's more apart. But but that scene, the song "Desire," the lyrics go, I don't eat, I don't sleep, I do nothing of you." Actually, encapsulate how both Irene and the driver feel about each other. Like the scene just cuts back to them, and eventually they see each other outside. And it's like, um, I, I was where Ryan Gosling jokingly says, I was gonna call the cops," and Irene just says, "I wish you would."
yeah, yeah. But I think I like how in the span of time he kind of starts to care for the husband a little bit, just like he cares for the other two,
Mm-hmm.
the kid and Irene.
Yeah,
So
he wants Irene and Ignacio, the kid's name. I forgot the kid's name.
Ignacio, yeah,
Ignacio to be happy. I mean, yeah, if he can't get married to Irene, he can at least make her happy by being there.
yeah.
And
And I also think you can tell that. Why am I blanking on the guy's name? Oscar Isaac's
Standard,
character.
Standard.
The
That's literally
Stan.
his name, Standard. That is, I'm not kidding.
Stupid name. Really stupid name. Anyways, you could tell that he wants to. I mean, one, because he says it, but it's like you can tell just by the way his body language is and everything. He wants to kind of leave the criminal life behind, but he can't because he owes these people money.
Protection money.
Who helped him protect him while he was in prison. So
I think that's really interesting. We don't know why he's in jail. It's just it kind of keeps it very ambiguous.
I don't think you really need to know though that.
Yeah.
You should know that he did something bad. I mean, given the fact that he was in with the mafia, you can probably figure out it was probably some racketeering thing, or maybe he carried out a hit or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What I also it's also worth noting that sorry, I'm blanking out right now, but it was I don't know if it was Oscar Isaacs or the driver, but oh yeah, it's also implied he met Irene when Irene was only 17. Because,
he straight up said it.
Yeah, so I think maybe he's done some sussy things in the past, but now at jail time finally made him pay for it along with his hit. But literally, in an attempt to try and get out of debt, he'd pay with his life.
Yeah.
Which.
And I was sad when he died.
Oh, absolutely.
I was like, oh.
Tim, what do you think about Oscar Isaac's character, Standard, the husband to Irene?
I don't know. Like, it just, like, I mean, like, it's hard for me to say, like, you don't just marry a, criminal and just, you don't think there's a bunch of red flags. I mean, the guy's a criminal and, of course that he was going to get killed because he's a gangster and loaned money from some very shady people and, of course, cooks. So marrying him was a pretty bad idea.
I don't think she knew he was a criminal at first. Like all that we know about how Standard and Irene met was that Standard just went up to her at the party and said, "My name is Standard," and Irene said, "Okay, where's the deluxe package?" That's an actual line.
Plus, also, can it be possible that they got married before he turned to crime?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, if the fact that Irene didn't bat an eye whatsoever, you don't think that it raises a bunch of red flags from the start? I'm
pretty sure she did. In fact, she felt very. I don't know if maybe it's because her time with the driver made him think the driver was better than Oscar Isaac. Like I said, that scene in the party where they miss their company together. Like maybe she realizes I could have met somebody like the driver who she didn't know the driver was a getaway driver because I want to get to the driver later, but she she's when during the welcome back party, she prefers the company of the driver more than Standard. But Standard still lightens up to the driver anyways.
Yeah, just I don't know. It just felt like a cheap move, a cheap plot, to integrate. So,
I guess. I mean, to each their own. I guess.
It's just a cheap, stereotypical, kind of drama storyline. So it's just make the husband the criminal and have people involved trying to kill them. So, just.
Well, that kind of plot line has been used forever, and it's a reason. And there's a reason for it. It's because it works.
Tropes and cliches aren't bad. They're cliches because they work 90% of the time. Cliches are just a tool.
Cliches are bad when you poorly use them or use them in super unoriginal ways.
I know we don't really like to name drop YouTubers, but there's a YouTuber called Terrible Writing Advice where his entire channel is just how to make the worst story ever, and he actually made a video breaking characters saying that just because you use cliches doesn't mean your story is bad. It's how you handle them.
Yeah, you can probably look through most of your favorite movies and find a handful of cliches.
Yeah, used. The TV Tropes website exists for a reason.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: just because cliches and tropes exist doesn't mean you have to be like subversive-y, deconstruction-y kind of deal. Yeah. Sometimes they work in stories because they work. It's like that's not. And like I said, Drive may be unoriginal, but it's the way they execute everything is so fantastic, and why I hold this film in a very high regard. And plus, like, I know the budget was like in the millions, but like it wasn't. It was a pretty low budget film for a self-titled action film too. Like all the cast and crew members had to stay in one house.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
And and I that's all I got. But yeah, that's all I really gotta say on the topic. But I want to get back to the driver real quickly because
So hold on 1 second. So according to IMDb, the budget for this movie was $15 million. That's the estimated budget. So
I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's in the millions range, but would you consider that? I mean,
that's probably more in the mid-budget range, even for 2011 when this movie came out.
yeah.
I mean, to people like us, $15 million is like life-changing money.
Oh,
that we could
absolutely.
probably retire
Yeah,
on.
that's like
But it's like, you know, in Hollywood, that's, you know, a couple $1,000s is chump change in Hollywood.
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think they really put that $15 million to good use, I would say.
Yep. Especially with all the star power they got in this film. Like, you got Ryan
Oh, yeah.
Gosling, you got Ron Perlman, Oscar Isaac. I don't know if Oscar Isaac was a big star back then, but
I don't think so. I mean, to be honest, I think it was around like the 2014, 2015 time when Oscar Isaac blew up. Because remember, in 2015, not only was he in Star Wars, but he was also in Ex Machina as well,
I haven't seen that one yet.
I haven't either. He was also in it with, believe it or not, his co-star in that movie, I believe, was Donald Gleason, who played General Hux and also in Star Wars. So
What a coincidence.
Neat coincidence.
Yeah. But anyways, going back, I wanted to bring up the driver because I feel like he actually does have some development. So here's the thing. So this may sound like a weird, bad thing, but he says in the film he doesn't carry a weapon, he doesn't do drugs, he just drives. But that's kind of his code. That's his code when he does his illegal work. He's just a driver, nothing more, nothing less. But it's when the heist goes wrong, he kind of breaks his code, like in that motel scene where he's killing the criminals that are trying to attack him, and he even goes after a person that set up the hit with the hammer as well. Like, he breaks his own code, and throughout this whole film he tries to keep a low, quiet profile, but and in this not become very violent. In fact, one of my favorite scenes, and what's the scene that I always think about when I think about this movie, is the elevator scene.
Yeah, that's a good scene. I like that scene.
Like, here's the thing. Like, this is like after he told Irene found out Standard died, and Irene's upset with the driver, but then all of a sudden this gangster comes out, like, oh, wrong floor. Want to come with me? So they come with, and he realizes there's a gun, so he kisses Irene, confessing his love, beats the gangster to a brutal pulp. But then here's the thing. Afterwards, he turns around to Irene, and he actually looks really sad. Now, a lot of people say Ryan Gosling doesn't emote in this movie. He does. He fucking does emote, man. Like he's losing that. He's cracking. He's losing that quiet, calm pressure. Like, because he just shown Irene that I am violent, and he broke his own code. Not only did he break his own code, but he kind of scared Irene, knowing this is the work he gets involved in. He's no better than Standard. And you just see that elevator door close as Irene looks in horror while Ryan Gosling can only look in shame.
Yeah.
And while we're on the topic, like, so are you guys familiar with the old Greek fable, the scorpion and the frog?
Somewhat.
He brings that up. And in fact, the scorpion on his jacket, some people symbolize is that is his true nature. Like, yeah, he don't get me wrong, he doesn't go around mindlessly killing people, but just he tries to avoid that part of himself, but when push comes to shove, he will have to do it. And he does that throughout, like, the second and third act of the movie. Like, he kills the elevator guy, he kills the gangsters, he brutally beats the cook, the guy who set up the bank heist, and then he kills Nino while wearing the mask, and then eventually Bernie.
Yeah. I like the scene at the end where he kills Bernie.
Oh yeah,
because the way it's shot, it makes you think that it's the other way around, but no, it's Ryan Gosling's character who killed Bernie, not Bernie who kills Ryan Gosling's character.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the little detail at the end where when he drives away, he leaves the sack of money with Bernie's body.
Oh yeah.
I
So
kind I kind of like that. I think that's kind of showing that he's. I kind of have a feeling that symbolizes something. I just can't really put my finger on what.
he wants to leave the life of crime behind. He doesn't
Yes.
want
Yeah.
anyone to get hurt ever again. He
Yeah.
doesn't want anybody to get hurt. Like he doesn't want to be the Scorpion anymore, but he still has a Scorpion jacket on him. And
Yeah.
and even though Irene still wants to forgive him and care for him, he kind of thinks to himself, I feel like in a way Ryan Gosling, the driver, cannot forgive himself for all the harm he's caused, so he either drives away to a new place or he just drives. It's implied within the book that there is a sequel where he lives in Arizona, but from what I've heard, there is a sequel to the book it's based on, literally called Driven, and it reads like a direct to DVD sequel.
Ah.
But yeah, like I think the driver's like the not only is the driver a really cool character, but he's a character where the layers start slowly peeling back as this film goes on. I know a lot of people nowadays. A lot of people make fun of the driver. It's like, oh, he's just this awkward, quiet guy. He can't do well in conversations. Like, no, he can, but he just wants to keep a low profile.
I was gonna
But
say,
eventually,
I was about to say, it's like that's kind of the point. If you want to keep a low profile, you don't bring attention to yourself. You don't openly start conversations with random people you don't know.
yeah.
Or
And I don't know. Some people got annoyed by the fact there's not a lot of dialogue between him, but he doesn't talk a lot. But I mean, he does have some speaking roles. But like I think Ryan Gosling and said that he wanted that not to be a lot of talking between Irene and him because like it just communicated their feelings that way. It felt more like kind of a fairy tale of like a bittersweet ending, if that makes any sense.
yeah, yeah. I kind of like it better when screenwriters use somewhat minimal dialogue because there
Mm-hmm.
is such thing as too much dialogue. It can feel clunky
Mm-hmm.
if you're using too much dialogue and you can sort of write everything too literally, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that there's not a ton of dialogue. I like that you can the director let the actors sort of show their feelings with their emotions and their facial expressions, their body language, and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, and use dialogue when it's necessary. Because that's personally as a screenwriter myself, that's something that I kind of want to do. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to use any more dialogue than what I have to.
Yeah.
So um, obviously, you need some dialogue. You need
Oh,
conversations between
absolutely.
characters, but
Yeah.
as we learned from the Star Wars prequels, sometimes too much dialogue can be a problem.
That's true. I was gonna say, before I want to ask Tim a question, but first I want to say, since we're on topic of dialogue, Shannon, fucking not Bryce Papenbrook, Bryan Cranston's character, Bryan Cranston's character, originally barely had any lines of dialogue. In fact, most of his dialogue was improvised, and he thought being a chatterbox would be a great contrast to the driver. In fact, the director, Nicholas Winding,
Yeah.
he actually said, hey, add on to the characters if you wanted to. People liked working with him because of how open he would let people interpret the characters, and Bryan Cranston made him a chatterbox to contract the driver, and I thought that was a nice contrast.
It is a nice contrast, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways, sorry, what were you saying, Tim?
I get. He reminds me, well, because he played. Look, what I know is that he reminds me of Hal from Malcolm in the Middle, and I know I grew up with that show as a kid, so he talks just like Hal. I mean, literally just Hal, just in that weird position with the driver.
I never watched Malcolm in the Middle. Are you saying his character is
What
very much like his character in Malcolm in the Middle?
have you even? Oh, you've never watched Malcolm in the Middle, have you?
Nope, but I've seen the mad parody Malcolm in the Middle Earth.
Well, you should watch it because it's really good TV and it's on Hulu. And I grew up with it as a kid, and it's aged like fine wine. Pretty
I gotta
solid 2000s show. It holds up pretty well. You really should watch it, dude. So
I got a
it's
backlog of.
it's a goddamn classic. So
Okay, I got a backlog of shows right now, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get on Malcolm, but we'll see. But anyways, Tim, I'm gonna give you the floor again. What do you think about the driver played by the one and only Ryan Gosling?
Badass, I would say. I didn't get a chance to watch Barbie. Unfortunately, I had to cancel my Max.
That has not. We're not talking about Barbie. We're talking about Drive. Like, tell me what you think about the driver.
Yeah, he's cool. So.
You think he's cool, huh?
Yeah.
Well, why that? Because of like his cold but silent exterior or something?
You could say that, and he has some humanity in him. So, which I like. Unlike unlike some other character, but yeah.
You've made your feelings pretty clear on Lou Bloom, but
yeah. So at least got some humanity and has more depth to him, and and it's what makes him more likable. So
yeah,
no doubt
he has
about
like a sorry I didn't mean to interrupt you. Keep talking.
No, I'm just saying, we see that shot of him that, that he'll do whatever he has to, protect himself and others. So that's what we like about him.
Yeah. Do you think what do you think is the most human part? What do you think which scene in the movie, Tim, do you think reflects the driver's humanity in the whole film? Like give us an example of one of your favorite scenes in the film.
Him caring for Irene and the kid, just obviously, and just feel, he wants to protect them and everything, and he'll do whatever he has to make good on his promises. So
yeah, and like I mentioned before, he has that moral code. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He doesn't carry guns. He doesn't fight. He drives until he has to break it. He has to break that moral code.
Yep, and guess what? He doesn't have to use underhanded tactics to get his way. So,
it's funny that you mentioned that because Bernie actually used underhand tactics to get his ways. Like he straight up killed Shannon.
Yeah,
and then he got killed at the end by Driver.
Oh yeah. All he wanted to do was let Irene alone, but it's like, yeah. But so speaking of like you mentioned before, Drew, you said there was a lot of good characters in this film. What do you think about the gangsters, the mafia?
I like them. I think they serve their purpose well. I really enjoy the I don't want to call it banter, but the dialogue between Bernie and
Nino.
I'm sorry, Nino. Yeah, it's Ron Perlman's character, right?
Yeah.
Nino. Yeah. I think I like their interactions because you can tell that they each have their own sort of visions on how things should go. They have their own goals and everything.
I think it's interesting as even as the heist falls apart, they realize, oh crap, we robbed the wrong guy. Now everything's going to crap. Like they start panicking. They themselves start breaking. But unlike the driver who just wants to be left alone, they decide, hey, let's not leave people alone and try and kill the driver. And just like, and he's like, no, I won't have that.
Yeah.
Oh no, Jim left.
And then they both end up dead.
Speaking of, I
guess this is why you shouldn't underestimate the silent and calm types.
Yeah. I want to, speaking of death, like this movie's action scenes, like here's the thing, it's a kind of a slow paced movie, but when it goes for the action, it does it so well, it sticks with you.
Oh yeah.
Like again, the elevator scene, the freaking motel fight that you like, and even the Nino's death, which is kind of off camera, like he gets that, ram your car, get slightly injured. Oh no, here comes the driver, drowning him in water, and Bernie's death was not as like brutal or dramatic, but you could still, it was incredibly well shot with like the shadows showing.
Yeah, I like how they showed it through shadows because it made the reveal of the fact that it was driver who killed Bernie more. It made it make more sense. So
yeah.
I like that they shot it in shadow. Yeah. Although I would imagine getting that shot probably wasn't very fun, but because you have to do shadow manipulation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not always
Oh,
easy,
yeah.
but it's
Tough.
very impressive. But it's very impressive from a technical perspective. So,
and since we're still talking about action, you notice how like the second car chase, the last car chases, you can actually see outside the cars.
yeah, it makes
it's
it
just funny
makes it feel more like a traditional action movie, which I think by that point in the story it does kind of make sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You get to see a driver in his designated nature.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, Tim, what was your favorite action moment in the film?
When he beat the shit out of that hitman in the elevator.
Oh yeah, I'm glad elevator scene. Let's go. Someone's gonna animate.
I will say something about the motel scene. I really like the sound design of that scene. It could have just been my speakers from my TV, but I like how I like it when more drama type movies like this, each gunshot, each impact of whatever melee weapon is being used or whatever, just feels more impactful because of the lack of action, if that makes sense. And so I don't know if they just really in the sound design of this movie, if they really just intentionally made the gun sounds louder than usual, but I think it has more impact that way. And all the guns and everything sound very beefy, which is how you would want them to sound. You know, I also like the effect of when God damn it, I forget. I'm sorry.
Is it the head blown off or?
Yeah, Blanche when she gets her head blown off. The effect of the blood and everything, I think is really good. Plus, it does kind of come out of nowhere a little bit too. She goes into the bathroom. Yeah. You kind of see there's people outside, but then her head gets blown off suddenly.
The whole scene is just built up really nicely.
Oh yeah, that scene is a great little lesson on how to build suspense.
Oh, absolutely.
To where it's like, you know, you establish, you know, your geometry, your where the characters are and all that, and then you sort of slowly establish that there might be some people outside or some sort of threat or whatever that they don't know about, and so it's a great way to build suspense.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I like to segue this into this is something you might disagree with us, Drew, but the music. I actually really like the music in this film.
I mean, it's not that the music doesn't fit. It's just it's not music that I particularly like. So I see why they used it, but it's not really. I was gonna make a really shitty joke in our text chat or group chat that I was like, well, Driver was good, but it used too much electronic pop music. 0 out of 5 stars.
I mean, it's more synth pop.
Really petty like that.
That was very petty, and I actually like it fits. I think the music fits really well with that neo noir theme they're going for. I mean, not only do you have like the beginning car chase, you hear tick of the clock, which. You know, it's like that, and then immediately afterwards, you get that title opening with "Night Call" by Kavinsky. Which, fun fact, that was performed at the closing ceremonies of the Olympics. And, dude, that's "Night Call." Not only is it a great song to drive in the night, and like not because of this movie, but like the lyrics. If you listen to the lyrics, I think "Night Call" actually describes the character of the driver very well. Like he wants, you know. He wants to show Irene all these things. He wants to care for Irene, but like he's so soft and quiet. There's something about you, boy, but you're still the same. They're talking about you, boy, but you're still the same.
Yeah.
Like I love that song. I love "Night Call" by Kavinsky. It's not something I normally listen to, but fuck, I was addicted to that song after watching this film, and like I mentioned earlier, the Desire, the electronic song that plays during the Party of Standard, again, that fits the film well because the lyrics describe Irene and Driver. They want each other, and Irene wants Driver more because of Standard's past. He's like, I could have met someone like the Driver. I could have been with somebody like the Driver. And Driver, even though he knows he's married, he still has feelings for Irene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then finally, Well, not. Oh, I mean, I could bring up this one slow song. I can't remember. It's like the scene where he drives over to the pizzeria and he's wearing the mask, which I will have to get to that later. But you see that shot where he's outside and wearing the mask, and you have that like, I don't remember the song, to be honest. I think that's like the least memorable. I mean, it's not okay. It's not least memorable. Scratch that. It's just I don't remember the name very well because it's being outshined by Kavinsky and the last song, which I will get to. Sorry, am I speaking too much? If anyone wants to hop in and say something about the Drive soundtrack, feel free to.
I mean, other than that, it's music that I wouldn't particularly listen to. Like I said, I'm just not a fan of electronic pop music, so I generally tend to not really like it. Even if whether it does fit the theme, which I mean, I guess it fits the theme from a lyrical perspective, like the way you talk about it, but it's more about the sound and texture of the song that I don't like.
Absolutely. The sound and texture fit really well. Like, again, it's that neo-noir, like, 80s throwback vibe. And the last song I have to mention, because otherwise I'd lose my cinema card, Real Hero by College. The song that plays when Ryan Gosling is driving Irene and Ignacio under the bridge. And of course, the credits. It plays in the credits.
Yeah.
Real human being and a real hero. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I think if you ask most people what their favorite song in Drive was, it's either Kavinsky, Night Call, or Real Hero. Which, Tim and Drew, I want both your inputs. Which song did you think was better, Night Call by Kavinsky or Real Hero by College?
Probably the second one, because I actually remember that song.
What about you, Tim? Which one did you like better, the first song, Night Call, or A Real Hero?
I don't even know what those are, and I don't even know what they sound
Bro! I just explained everything, or did you just not remember the soundtrack?
Well, sorry, the feed kept cutting out, so I couldn't hear you.
It's okay. Which song did you like better? Night Call by Kavinsky or Real Hero by College?
I wish I could say something. I really don't know, dude.
Oh, damn. Okay. Because
No.
I guess for me it depends on the mood. Like, because here's the thing. After watching that film and replaying Katana Zero, I ended up making an entire synth pop playlist for playing for driving at night. It's of course the Drive soundtrack and the Hotline Miami soundtrack and the Katana Zero soundtrack.
Yeah, well, I think they should have hired Pantera to do some of the soundtrack.
Pantera were not around in 2011, so they couldn't have.
Like,
Wait,
I don't
and
know,
it-
man.
And it wouldn't have even fit with the theme.
Yeah, it would not fit with the theme. Tim, why would you think Pantera would be great for this movie?
Well,
If that was even possible.
Pantera did music for SpongeBob. I mean, that makes sense.
So?
Well, that doesn't make sense for Drive. Why are you like, Tim? How does
the death metal guitar solos?
Pantera are not death metal. Take this from a heavy metal person.
Tim, how would Pantera work for Drive? Like, what about it do you think would improve Drive?
The action scenes and the Drive scenes probably could have been better.
I think the action scenes, especially the one in the motel, I think are better without music.
Oh, absolutely. I think it adds more of a grounded, gritty realism to it, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, if you throw in Slayer or Pantera in there, it would totally lose its impact.
Yeah, I agree. Because, like I said, elevator scene, man. Like, you have here's the thing. Like, you don't have just the licensed songs. Like, there's moments of like ambient synth sounds in the soundtrack. Like, again, elevator scene when he goes to slowly kiss Irene, you can slowly hear like a synth rising, and once Ryan Gosling goes violence mode, it just pure silence. And of course, I already gave a shout out to Tick of the Clock, which plays when the heist mission. Which, Tim, I'm gonna be real with you. Pantera would not fit the fucking opening scene of Drive.
They wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sorry.
I think like the synth pop thing, look, it works for the theme. I guess my point is just that this is not really what the kind of music that I like, but it does fit the theme. And I think they wish, like, my problem with it specifically is that it's a bit too modern electronic, if that makes sense.
I guess that
Not
makes
like
sense.
not like 80s or 90s electronic, but modern electronic, where everything is like beep boops and sounds like R2D2 having a stroke.
Yeah, I'd say it's more like R2D2 taking acid, just kind of laying down. But yeah,
or that, yeah.
because I feel like the Drive synth pop, or at least the selected songs, with the exception of Tick of the Clock, they're a lot more slower paced. They're a lot more smooth. And once again, Real Hero, it's just very ambient. It's like very, it has that ambient feeling. Like I said, it's more or less, it's not R2D2 having a stroke. It's R2D2 just kind of laying down after taking acid.
Well, still.
Yeah.
I guess if you want other genres of music in there, you probably could have an acoustic slow rock ballad or something somewhere. And
Yeah.
something like that could work, but again, Pantera is not the band for that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'd say like there was this movie like this. I think an example of this. Like, does anyone here remember the movie The Accountant with Matt Damon?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah. So the end of that movie actually has an acoustic like Southern folk song at the end where he's driving away. Spoiler alert for this old ass movie, by the way, which is apparently getting either a prequel or sequel coming either this year or next year. Spoiler alert for that movie. He drives away from a girl that showed him love, and they're playing like this acoustic song to it.
Do you remember the song?
I don't, but I remember really liking it, and I might just add it to one of my playlists that feature a bunch of acoustic songs.
Yeah, so
It's not Johnny Cash, though the singers does sound like Johnny Cash.
So yeah, so I guess some acoustics, some stuff could work, but it's like I think going with the synth pop songs, that in itself was, I guess, the right choice. Is I guess I just don't like the ones that they used. Like if
Really?
they used something from like if they used something from like the 80s and 90s where it wasn't too beat boop ish, then I think I would have liked it more. But
I think this fit really well because like I think if it did, it'd just be too much like I mean, yeah, it does pay homage to other movies, but I feel like in a way it's its own 80s action movie by having that selected soundtrack and having the selected setting too. Like it's never even specified what era the movie takes place in either. I mean, you could try analyzing it based on the car models, but I'm not a car person.
yeah, I would say it's safe to say it takes place in the 2000s at some point. I mean, you don't see. I mean, I don't think you see any like smartphones or anything.
Yeah,
or
I think the
or
closest
anything.
you see is like the old flip phone.
Yeah, yeah. So probably in the mid 2000s would be my guess.
Yeah.
When it takes place, but but yeah.
Oh, excuse me. But yeah, that's again. I love the soundtrack to Drive. It's absolutely incredible. And like I said, I'm not a synth pop person. I'm more into the rock and roll kind of deal. But again, like I love Kavinsky Night Call. I love A Real Hero by College. There's a yeah, because that kind of yeah, and that's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say, man. Anyone else got any final thoughts on the soundtrack or sound design to Drive?
I mean, I think the like I kind of said before, the sound design I think is more impressive than the soundtrack, if that makes sense.
That's
With
fair.
the way the gun sounds are mixed, the way that even like the like the actual driving sound effects, like the screeching of the tires and stuff like that, it's all very well done. I don't think this might be the first time in our time doing this podcast that we actually went somewhat in depth about the sound design.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think was Drive nominated for Best Sound Design? Because I know it was nominated for only one award, and it was nominated for Best Sound Editing. It was nominated for Best Sound and Editing at the 84th Academy Awards.
Well earned.
It was nominated, but did it win? Hang on. 84th Academy Award. Best Sound Editing. Hugo won Best Sound Editing over Drive.
I've never
that
seen
movie based on the book The Invention of Hugo Cabert. If anyone even knows that movie or book.
I don't.
I read the book and I saw the movie once for my intro to cinema class.
Yeah, I have no idea what that is.
It's a movie about that's actually kind of a tribute to George Maselli's, or the guy who made the Moon movie. You know, the moon with the trip to the moon.
Yeah.
But
So yeah, sound design, and Drive, good.
So I guess another thing. I don't know if there's another thing I could address or not, but did you know that this movie was originally going to have a different director and have Hugh Jackman play the driver?
That would have been a very different movie.
Oh, absolutely, I agree.
I'm glad that they went with Ryan Gosling because he looks, with no offense to Hugh Jackman, of course, but I think Hugh Jackman has that bit of that superhero physique to him, whereas
Oh, that
Ryan
he has
Gosling,
like that really rough, gruggy look to him.
yeah, where Ryan Gosling, I think, looks more like a normal person. So
absolutely. I mean, the only time I don't know if Hugh Jackman had that same that same look you described in The Greatest Showman, because that's like the only non-superhero role I can think he ever did. I mean, non-superhero, non-tough guy role he did. Speaking of Tim, I must get this question on to you. Do you think this movie would have been different if Hugh Jackman was the driver and not Ryan Gosling?
I say it would have been definitely would have been darker for certain.
I forgot who was originally directed. I forgot, but the thing with Nicholas Winding, the director of this movie, I'll be honest, I haven't really watched all of his movies, but he definitely likes dabbling in the crime genre. And one of his other films, which came out like a couple years after Drive, is Only God Forgives, coincidentally also starring Ryan Gosling. It has like it's a lot more slower pace, but it's not long. It's like an hour and 30 minutes, but like it has its slow paced moments. It has that neo-noir nightlight thing. And when the scenes get violent, they do get violent. So I kind of feel like, from what I've seen so far, Nicholas Winding does have this distinct style he's going for when it comes to his crime dramas.
I feel like I've heard of If God Forgives.
Only God Forgives.
Yeah,
I put it on the doc. I put it on the doc. Now, granted, I think it's arguably a little more gory than Drive. But yeah. Only God Forgives was.
I mean, Drive gets, as we kind of talked about earlier with the motel scene, it does get a bit gory at times.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
but. Yeah, honestly though, I do think Drive is the better movie. I like Only God Forgives. I think it's a nice movie. But it just feels more like a spiritual sequel to Drive in a way, and it doesn't help that Ryan Gosling's also in the movie, and he's also playing a criminal as well, or at least he's playing he is playing a criminal. Who am I kidding? So yeah, I think Nicholas Winding was a very appropriate director for this film, and also I got Neon Demon, also by the same director, on my watch list, but this time it doesn't have Ryan Gosling in it.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't have a ton more to say about Drive, to be honest. Do you want to continue gushing about this movie, Nick?
Absolutely. Unless Tim, do you have anything to say before I keep gushing about Drive?
No.
Gush
So Drive actually came out around the time of vaporwave. It was getting popular along with 80s nostalgia. So now I think that can also be a tribute to why it's very fondly remembered. And also, this is one I'm getting a little giddy about. Drive was one of the main influences for the hit video game Hotline Miami.
Really?
Yeah. Have you guys played Hotline Miami?
I have,
yeah. I tried it, and I don't know why I can't get past the first couple stages.
Well, it's a pretty hard game.
Yeah, it's a pretty hard game. I played through all of Hotline Miami. Sorry, you first.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, that's not fair. Like,
well, the game is supposed to be about, trying to approach situations. Like, one hit you die, but so do the enemies. It's like an equal opportunity game. Before this becomes a video game podcast, but I'd like to gush more about Hotline Miami later, because I love Hotline Miami, and I also love this film. In fact, in a way, I can explain that later when we're off camera, but So yeah, not only did this movie did influence Hotline Miami, but this also influenced a bunch of awkward internet weirdos to try and imitate Drive, and they left their stories on a certain Vietnamese tapestry board known as 4chan.
Okay.
I don't know if we. So basically, they tried acting like Driver, but they either only one of them had a true success story, but it's probably fake. It's probably fake anyway because people ended up copying, pasting these stories. Like, oh no, I posted this first. Like, no, you didn't, motherfucker. Like, Twitter users and Reddit users will screenshot that shit and expect internet points. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would be a funny way if we did a table read of one of these stories. But I don't know. It'd be, to be fair, we'd be stealing the ending to a Kino Corner video. So I just think it'd be nice to talk about the influence of Drive. Like I said, inspired Hotline Miami, and
I mean,
like,
it probably also partly inspired GTA 5 as well because that was being made around the same time.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But Drive is an amazing movie, and you know, and even though it didn't get nominated for a lot of Oscars, there's a ton of beloved movies that don't get nominated. Like, I'm sure y'all know about Baby Driver.
Yeah.
People love that film, but didn't get nominated. In fact, the Lego Movie, a lot of people were pissed it didn't get nominated for Best Animated Picture. Even Conan O'Brien roasted the Oscars for not nominating the Lego Movie.
Sounds very Oscars-y. Sounds very Academy-y of them.
Yeah. I mean, it still got nominated for Best Sound Editing, but it lost to a Martin Scorsese movie.
Which movie?
Hugo. Yes, that is a Martin Scorsese movie.
Oh, that's a Martin Scorsese movie. I didn't know that.
Yeah. We should talk about a Scorsese film sometime. But
yeah.
Until then, we must make like the driver and exit. Drive away. So that's all I got to say about Drive. Final thoughts. This is one of my favorite films ever made. Top 3 favorite films. Probably one of my favorite Ryan Gosling. Well, here's the thing. As much as I love this film, I do think Ryan Gosling has definitely started showcasing more of his range in his later films, like Barbie and The Fall Guy, and even to an extent, The Nice Guys. Well, what a coincidence that Ryan Gosling stars in 2 movies with the word "guy" in the title. But still, Ryan Gosling does an amazing job. Acting is so amazing. Directing is amazing. I love Drive. Yeah.
All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Movie Mortis Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on socials, assuming we have any. And until then, if you stand by what you believe and be a good person, you too can be a real human being.